What up, people? Happy Saturday. Y'all know this is Wealthy Conversations, segment of the Finance Rebel Show that we talk about every week. And this week, we are approaching the anniversary of the 100-year Tulsa Race Riots and Massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we'll be talking about that. That will be our key. Presentation today. That's what we'll be talking mostly about today. So do me a favor, share this out to everyone that you know who's interested in Black wealth, and let's have a good old time. I know I'm running a little bit late today. Had to get my stuff together, so I'm not going to stay too long and go through all the motions that we normally go through. But again, share this out with everyone, and we're going to jump right into what we normally do. All right, so we always do our market rundown. So this week, the S&P 500 closed at 4,204. All right, week to date, it was up 1.16%. All right, year to date, the S&P 500 and the overall stock market is up 11.93%. Basically, it's up 12% year to date. All right, oil is up 66.63%. Basically flat on the week. All right. Oil still up roughly 37.5%, roughly 38%. Gold has broken a new level. Gold pushed above 1900 this week, closed at 1906. Kind of flat on the week. It started a little bit earlier at 1800-ish. But it's up now year to date 0.3%. So it's barely positive on the year, but we're seeing some things happen. I think we're starting to see some money move around. We're still seeing a lot of things going on with crypto, especially with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been bouncing around like a yo-yo, but that's to be expected, right? Bitcoin is very volatile. We all know that, or at least I know that. I'm always talking to y'all about it. So I expect Bitcoin to do just that, basically bounce around and do its thing. All right. Now, big deal this week. Big deal. Amazon is buying MGM for like $8.2 billion. And as we talked about this before, it's definitely in content play, but James Bond and Rocky are in focus on that. Plus, they've got a bunch of other content. I didn't realize just how much content they had. I knew MGM had a lot, but I didn't realize just how much. Now, a lot of people feel that Amazon has overpaid for this, but they have the cash, and they clearly want to put Amazon Prime in a better position to compete with the likes of Netflix, with the likes of YouTube, with the likes of Time Warner or HBO. So they're definitely getting busy over there. So I expect that this is going to be very, very interesting. Now, a lot of people will say, again, that they overpaid for it, but it's really overpaying if you can't further get more value out of the portfolio that MGM already has. So think about it. How many more James Bond movies can they create? Well, a lot. How many more Rocky movies can they create? A lot. I mean, if we haven't learned anything from Disney, if you have imagination, if you have some creativity, you can definitely expand some things and get some more value out of things that were already there. I mean, if you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, which was on nobody's radar, now it's like a mega billion-dollar franchise. I mean, so that's just one example. And so, again, what can Amazon do with, that whole MGM franchise? So, again, going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So today, y'all, I want to move to our main topic for today. I'm not going to be here too long, but wanted to talk about this. The 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa Race Riots are upon us. 100 years. And that fateful year of 1921, May 31st to June 1st, Tulsa erupted. The Greenwood section of Tulsa, the Black Wall Street section of Tulsa erupted into a major race riot. Now, there's a lot of speculation about what happened. But basically, a lot of black people were killed unjustifiably so. A lot of businesses were destroyed unjustifiably so. A lot of potential inheritances and legacies were lost during that day. Now, Tulsa gets a lot of attention, as it should. But I wanted to also take this time to talk about some of the other places that had race riots. Again, we talk about Tulsa, but we kind of miss out on everybody else, and I think that's bad. Now, the other day on Instagram, I'm going to pull this post up. The other day on Instagram, I put a post up, and it was just basically highlighting all the other travesties, all the other riots, all the other devastations and acts of war that have been waged upon black folks in this country for a long time. And a buddy of mine reached out to me and said, you know, the Philadelphia riot wasn't really a riot. Again, the Philadelphia riot really wasn't a riot. Now, the Philadelphia riot in which he's referring to is the MOVE bombing that happened in 1985. Definitely a day I'll never forget. Now, he's from Philadelphia. I'm from Philadelphia. A lot of people have mixed reviews about MOVE, but that's not what I'm here for today. But I just wanted to talk about it because he was kind of the inspiration for me to even talk about this, because I wasn't thinking about it, right? So I just want to show y'all. I want to show y'all the post that I put up and what started this all, right? So let me share the screen real quick with everyone so you can see it all, and I can actually read the caption so we all can see it. I want to just give y'all a little bit of context. All right, so here's a listing of many of the Black massacres that happened. And the way I look at a massacre is when you have a coordinated effort of people trying to take out black folks. And in many of these places, that's where it happened, except for maybe Charleston. That was the act of like one person. But we have Rosewood, we have Tulsa, we have Memphis, we have Wilmington, and we have Philadelphia, Washington, many others, right? But this is what got me going. This is what really got my juices flowing. So I said, there's always been an attack on black wealth in this country and around the globe, but black folks have always been resilient. It's important to know the anniversary of the Tulsa riot and bombing is here, but to also recognize that this has always been a thing. All right. I hope to be 10% as good as my ancestors. And I put that in there because a lot of people say I'm not my ancestors as a slight to our ancestors, as a form of disrespect to our ancestors, to say that our ancestors were weak and meek, which was super duper far from the truth. But this is what happens when people don't study history. We get this milquetoast, whitewashed version of history, and it kind of it's definitely a disrespect to the ancestors, right? We should always pay homage and hold our ancestors in high regard because, one, they paved the way for us to be here. Had it not been for their sacrifice and their resilience, we would not be here. But anyway, back to my friend. So my friend says, I don't know why people hold MOVE in such a high regard. And I don't see how that was a loss of black wealth. And so I said, you know what? Well, let's talk about it. Because if you feel that way, that means others feel that way. Now, to me, it's clear. I don't even have to think for 2 seconds about how the MOVE bombing, literally the government, the police force dropped the bomb on MOVE, just like they dropped the bomb on Tulsa, right? They dropped the bomb on MOVE. I want to say the date was May 14th, 1985. They dropped the bomb in Tulsa, again, May 31st. So it still all happened in the month of May, many years ago, over 100 years ago. But when you look at that, how many lives were lost, right? We can just talk about that one, right? How many lives were lost? How many properties were lost? How many businesses were lost? And as it relates to MOVE, right? The city didn't bomb all black folks. as it relates to move, the city only attacked one group of black folks in the Southwest district or the Southwest or West Philadelphia section of Philadelphia. However, there were a lot of other people who were impacted by that in a negative way, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. So again, I really didn't understand how he didn't get that. He didn't get that. But it is what it is. But we'll definitely jump into that a little bit more and a little bit deeper. Now, for any of y'all who are familiar with any of these massacres, I would be really, really interested to hear your commentary about any of these things, any of these massacres. But again, to me, it's really, really telling how this country has taken the position to attack black people at every turn. I don't care how good we do. Now, I do want to say this real quick before we get any further. I know a lot of people like to use these occurrences as reasons not to work for and attain wealth. That's not my purpose today, right? I don't look at these events as a reason to stop being great, to stop creating, and to stop building wealth, to stop making money as we talk about it, right? Why? Because we live in a modern day society where money matters. We live in a modern day society where if we're going to talk about black pain and black suffering, we have to also look at what are some of the solutions to better the situation. So in no way, shape, or form is it better to just be poor. By the way, all black people are not poor. All right. But we know overwhelmingly that there's an educational gap in black communities. There is a food desert situation in many black communities. There is a political dislocation in many black communities. And what's the common theme here, folks? Money, cold hard cash. That is the common theme. Now, I talk all the time about money and cultural competence, or using money or looking at money through the lens of culture. Any other ethnic group that does well, they don't look at money just for the sake of money, for the most part. Again, I'm painting with broad strokes here, definitely generalizing here. But when we look at what happens in other countries or in other communities, they use money to the benefit of the group. Yes, their individuals benefit. Absolutely. Are black people a monolith? Absolutely not. But I'm going to say this, and I'm tying it all in here. No people are a monolith. None. However, there are some groups of people who coordinate their political and economic affairs a lot better than the black community does. And it's something that we all can learn from. And they're not monoliths either. So, this idea that black people isn't a monolith, and a large part is an excuse. It's an excuse just to say, hey, we can't do anything better than what we already have. But that only occurs when we are looking at money and wealth creation from a more Eurocentric standpoint. Even with Eurocentricity, right? They very much work together in a group for their issues to oppress folks. So never lose sight of that. Never lose sight of that. Okay. So again, you should keep this in mind, keep thinking about this, and always keep culture first and foremost as a filter on everything we do. Because again, I'm a product of the crack era. That was the get money era, no matter what. And we saw how that left us. That left us further devastated. Was it helped along by government? Absolutely. Right. But we don't need to be in the business of helping our oppressors further oppress us. So just keep that in mind, y'all. Just keep that in mind. All right. So I want to go back. I told you I talked about that post, right? Now that's from an IG channel called the Decolonial Atlas. And what I found was they actually have a website. So I was checking it out in the post over there. But I want to know, out of all of y'all, Have y'all heard, anybody that's listening, have y'all heard of any other massacres besides Tulsa? Maybe Rosewood. There was a movie about Rosewood with Don Cheadle and Ving Rhames and a few other stars. But have you heard about or learned about in school any other Black massacres besides Tulsa? Now, Black Wall Street is hailed as the economic center of the day because Black Wall Street, again, the Greenwood section of Tulsa, Oklahoma, was named that by a great ancestor. The great ancestor that named Greenwood section of Tulsa, Black Wall Street, was Booker T. Washington. Now, again, I'm a nerd. I'm a history buff. Tulsa, again, was not the only economic Black center in the country. We had several others. Several. From Philadelphia to Chicago to Harlem to Wilmington, North Carolina. All right. There's several others. So, again, I point all that out because I want you to keep it in perspective. You got to keep it all in perspective. Black folks have always found a way to get to a dollar, be creative, and do some things. And sometimes when we just minimize it to one city or one neighborhood in a city, I feel the actual impact gets lost. I feel that the actual magnitude of Black accomplishments gets lost. So again, you have to keep all these things in focus and in context. Black folks have always done great things. All right. In spite of the oppressive nature of government, right? Not just a few people, but actual government coming in and to step on us. All right. So again, I just want to highlight where I got this meme from, right? It was I don't know why I'm garbling words today, but it was the Colonial Atlas. So I just want to show this here real quick. Again, my apologies to everybody that's watching on Instagram and listening to the replay on the podcast later on because you can't see the graphics. But as always, I'll try to do my best to illustrate through my use of words what's going on. So hold on one second. I do see some comments coming through. I'm not going to get to the comments until closer to the end because I want to get everything out first because I've been paying attention and re-listening to some of my podcasts, and a lot of it kind of gets interrupted and it doesn't make for a great experience oftentimes. So my job here is to try to give everybody a great experience, being as efficient as possible. All right. So again, we know about Tulsa. Again, shout outs to Tulsa, shout outs to Greenwood, shout outs to Black Wall Street. Right. But again, like I said, I want to expand on this notion of Tulsa being the only Black economic center in the country, because that's a narrative not necessarily created by us. It's just been one that we've kind of latched onto and giving a lot of credence to. But there was more, and there were definitely other massacres. So Tulsa occurred in 1921. Now, just looking on this list, I fact checked some of this. I knew some of this already. I did some loose fact checking as well. But there were other massacres going into the 1800s. So we have New Orleans in 1816. We have the St. Bernard's Parish, which is right next to New Orleans, in 1868. I cannot pronounce his name, Opelousas, which again is in New Orleans in 1868 as well. If anybody understands kind of the Louisiana role of slavery and what was happening during that time, especially after the Louisiana Purchase, there was a lot of upheavals. Again, many times, again, that's why I hate that saying, I'm not my ancestors. Again, so disrespectful, because there was a whole war called the Gullah Wars or the Seminole Wars, which occurred in the Carolinas and Florida, where you had Blacks escaping from slavery, partnering up with other Native Americans and kind of creating that whole Seminole Nation. Nobody talks about that. That was a major reason why the Civil War occurred. Again, it's all tied in, folks. So I'm not just kind of jumping around. But again, all these massacres took place, again, 1800s. Slocum, Texas, 1910. I believe that's Clinton, Arkansas, again, 1875. Charleston. Now, Charleston, again, is a city, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, where you had the one man going into the church killing everybody. I technically wouldn't call that a mass massacre, but it is indeed a massacre, right? It's indeed a loss of life. It's indeed, and this happened in a church, right? Churches are supposed to be sacred, but it happened nonetheless. Now, if you look at Wilmington, 1865, again, that was very, very tragic. That happened because of politics. They didn't like what was going on. When you look at Memphis, again, in 1866, a lot of that happened because Memphis was a freaking racist firestorm at the time. But this post does a little justice, but not. There's so much more. There's so much more to this. So they talked about, let's see here, some of it here. In 1868, around 200 recently emancipated African Americans were killed by a white mob in Opelousas, Louisiana, for registering votes. If anybody is familiar with Philadelphia, look up Octavius Butler. Not Octavius Butler. I'm getting it wrong. But Octavius Spencer, I want to say, was murdered. Black man murdered in Philadelphia. There's actually a statue from downtown Philadelphia for what? Getting black folks out to vote. Excuse me, Octavius Cato. My apologies for that. But again, it's really, really interesting that oftentimes many of these occurrences happen because black folks were fighting for the right to vote. And sadly, in 2021, many of us don't realize the importance of politics. And we talk about it. And many of us, again, talk about it negatively because they don't understand, in my opinion, the entire context and the entire history and the importance of politics as it relates to getting a better life for black people in this country. All right. But again, Tulsa happened. All right, well, let me read down this list. I'm sorry, let me back up. In 1919, as many as 237 black farmers in Elaine, Arkansas, were lynched for organizing their labor to negotiate better conditions. Now, if you understand organizing and labor, that's also very political as well. People were organizing to get better rights, better treatment. And the powers that be didn't like it. All right, here's their footnote about Tulsa. Tulsa Greenwood neighborhood was once the wealthiest black community. The nerd in me cringes when I say that. Again, no diss to the folks in Tulsa, though, right? In 1921, it was bombed, burning it to the ground and leaving up to 300 dead. Now, mind you, they didn't do very good counts of the dead back then. They barely did good counts of black births back then. That's why many folks that were born pre-World War II, pre-Depression, a lot of times didn't even know their names. And again, it's really, really sad because we couldn't get admittance to hospitals. We were not able to be treated as human beings. And so again, it's really, really sad. Really, really sad. Now, as I was talking before about Wilmington, again, Wilmington, North Carolina, not Delaware, Wilmington, North Carolina, again, another race riot over politics, and they basically overthrew the government. And they overthrew the government a lot because of black press, right? So again, when black people start to organize, it becomes an issue. And again, they're like, well, Kamari, why are you talking about this today? Well, you already know why I talk about this. All of these things are intertwined with wealth. The other week when we talked about the conditions for wealth and kind of defining wealth, wealth is not just about money. It's also about well-being. The money part of wealth is used as a tool to help us get to better well-being. That's it. It's a tool. But if we're not getting to well-being, then we're misusing the tools. That's why I always say we have to use money through a cultural lens. We have to look at wealth through a cultural lens, not just the lens of of white folks. It's not just about getting materialistic things. And again, materialistic things, everybody likes nice things, right? Again, everybody's been up in arms about Stake 48 this last week. I find it utterly disgusting that we're even discussing it, speaking to the Black community. I feel it's a disrespect to the ancestors, to be totally honest with you. And it's a way for us to seek white acceptance. Why do we care what a white establishment is doing? Now, I totally get that the white establishment employs Black folks. That's not lost to me. But at the end of the day, the equity, the ownership is not in Black communities. Why do we care? Why can't we just direct that energy towards Black businesses in the same vein that they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the same vein that they did in Rosewood, in the same vein they did in Atlanta, in the same vein they did in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? That's the real flex, because that's the new term all the young folks are using, right? That's the real play. But again, I think a lot of that gets lost because we don't go through the history, and we oftentimes kind of just leave it to be misinterpreted, recharacterized, replagiarized by other people. But it's our job to really know that history, in my opinion. All right. So again, Tulsa, right? And I told you I got a call from a friend of mine who said the move situation was not about Black wealth. It did not destroy Black wealth. So again, we just ran through a whole list of atrocities that happened to our people over this years, right? And again, loss of life, loss of property, right? Loss of things, heirlooms, history, family mementos. That's all wealth. That's all part of the well-being. That happened in every one of those situations, including Move. Now, again, like I said, Move, when they firebombed, it didn't just hurt Move members. Like I said, there's a very complicated issue with Move amongst some people in Philadelphia. To me, it's clear. The city attacked them. The city bombed innocent civilians. The city dropped the ball on how that situation was handled, right? It's very well covered. There's a documentary about Move called 40 Years a Prisoner, where I want to say it was Michael Africa was talking about the whole story of his parents being taken from him at a super duper young age, like 1 or 2. And now they're just now coming home at 40. So this young man was robbed of his parents for all this time. Again, if we're going back to wealth, that's a loss of wellness, right, in its totality. If we want to come to the money part, how was his ability to make money hampered because of the loss of his parents or the removal of his parents? And then let's extrapolate that out to so many, many others that this has happened to for so many, many centuries, not years, not decades, not just one generation, but several generations. It's happened over and over and over again. Now, again, going back to just to put the period on the point about Move, again, that happened at Move. Not just his family, but many other people that lived on that block of Osage Avenue and the surrounding areas. Now, I won't go too deep into the history, but then politics got even further involved in it, and the selection of contractors and the bad building and people moving back in and homes weren't built right. Again, it further affected people's wellness, right? Which was affected by their homes, by the money, by everything. And many people don't realize that. And so that's why I decided to talk about that today, because for me, I was a little bewildered. I was like, how do you not see the loss of wealth here? Again, their issue was they were solely focused on Move, right? His issue was, why do people have so much love for Move? I get it. Again, it's very nuanced. It's very, very nuanced. But again, when it comes down to the end of the day, you have a whole police force, a whole government attacking a group of people, and they couldn't defend themselves, and they definitely couldn't defend themselves against the bomb. And then that group of people, that attack of that group of people was then spread out to the rest of the neighbors in the neighborhood, which affected their wealth financially, emotionally, spiritually, the whole nine. So again, we can't lose context of that, folks. We can't lose memory of that. That's why history is very, very important. Again, if you look at other ethnic groups that do really, really well, what are some of the other things they hold on to? Their culture and their history. That's usually intertwined. Culture and history are usually intertwined. While we let other people tell us our narratives, we have to protect our stories. Absolutely have to protect our stories. So again, like I said, I'm not going to go on too long, but I want to check in with the folks, see what your thoughts are. Do y'all see how Black attacks on traditionally Black communities affects Black wealth? Again, when we talk about reparations, right, everybody goes to slavery. There's so many other components of this, right? We got slavery. We can't forget about that. We have Black codes. Can't forget about that. We have Jim Crow. And that's just on the macro level. I'm just talking macro. I mean, when you look at Emmett Till, again, young man killed, young man murdered because he allegedly whistled at a white lady. Come to find out that was a lie, right? So people, those folks, those inhumane demons decided to kill Black folks at a whim. And again, we're not talking about a whole group of people, because I know somebody's going to say, well, all white people aren't guilty. But listen, a lot of white folks are benefiting from that mistreatment of Black folks. And so if they're not willing to step up and try to right the wrongs, then you get lumped in with everybody else. Now, I can discern between a good human and a good racist. All right, there is a difference. However, when we're having these kind of community family conversations, y'all know the deal. Y'all know what I'm talking about, or y'all know what most people are talking about. So I don't feel the need to go through that, but I will put that out there because I do get those comments from time to time. All right, just to be clear, Black folks have always been humans, more so than anybody else. So I don't think we need to worry about being called haters or anti-Semitic or anti-white or any of the other labels that they use to troll us when we are talking about Black pain. All right. But again, I wanted to talk about that because I feel very, very passionately about the history. I feel very, very passionately about wealth, right? Again, from a holistic standpoint. Yes, money is a part of that. We have to really dive in on that if we're really serious about healing ourselves. Can't really look for outside communities to come in and heal us. We got to do it ourselves. But it's important to be able to put things in perspective. And so if you can't see how, again, reparations is owed, whether we get it or not is a different story. How reparations is owed, separate and aside from slavery, separate and aside from everything else, I think you need to go back and do some more research. Again, we have slavery, we have Black codes, we have Jim Crow, we have civil rights era, what they were fighting for, again, integration, but not necessarily integration to be white. It was integration for fair treatment. Because I know a lot of times we talk about that. In this case, I just brought up State 48. We can go anywhere we want. They're not stating that we can't go if we're not Black. They're stating that you can't come in if you ain't got money. I'm cool with that. And if you're a business owner and you understand money, I think you should be cool with that too. There's nothing for us to be up in arms about. I mean, I've seen people do all kinds of lives and all kinds of posts. I make jokes about it because I find it funny. But it's like, wow, we're going to really give this much energy to a thing? How about we take the time and sit down with our children and explain to them what's going on? Why it's important to support Black business? Why it's important to study Black history? By the way, Black history doesn't begin and end in the United States. All right. It starts before the formation of the United States, just for the record. Just for the record. But listen, my hopes for this is that we all go deeper into our history. We all begin to support one another, not just monetarily, right? But a kind word goes a long way. All right. Supporting us, we can all support good folks that are doing good work just by word of mouth, just by giving them a shout out. How many millions of dollars of free publicity did Stake 48 get this week? Mainly off of the backs of Black folks. So again, we are helping white supremacy. We're helping to funnel and fuel white supremacy by giving them all this energy. Can we take 10% of that energy and give it to a Black business? Just pick one, anyone. I don't care. Can we do that? And yes, there's no such thing as bad press. Because while this is bad press for Stake 48, supposedly, there are people who have never even heard of Stake 48. And they're like, wow, they're charging $100. Maybe I should go check them out now. So you have to think about that. You got to think about that, folks. So, all right, let's go to questions and answers at this point. I see there's a lot of commentary. Again, any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, go ahead and throw them in the chat. All right, Netta Creative, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Trey's here. Nicole's here. Unique was here. Crown of Faking's here. Mid-Atlantic's here. Hiram's here. Memphis Barbecue. Oh, we just talked about Memphis. There's a great book called Black Fortunes, and they talk about a man by the name of Robert Church from Memphis. Straight up G. Straight up G. He basically saved Memphis. By the way, before I get the question and answers, I want to say this last thing. Again, just to put it in context. Tulsa, Oklahoma, was basically a refuge for Black folks. It's basically a refuge for Black folks that were running and avoiding racism. And many times folks like Ida B. Wells and Robert Church were doing missions and funding travel to Tulsa to get out of certain areas to avoid racism and attacks and riots and massacres. And ultimately, they kind of jumped out of the flame into the fire by going to Tulsa because it was everywhere. It's everywhere. All right. So SPC 12, how you doing? 54 Dragons here. How you doing? Philly Amplified's here. Nicole's here. She says, not a race riot. It was a massacre. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Courtney's here. Hey, Courtney. That's my other Courtney Bolden. What's up, Crystal? How you doing? Thank you. Yes, Octavius Cato. Everybody look up Octavius Cato, please. Look up his story. And then ask yourself, if the powers that be have always been trying to keep us out of politics, why? Is it just a trick or is there something really to it? Success Jay, how are you? JT Coins, what's up, brother? How are you? All right, Philly Amplified asks, do you believe the term Black is an automatic social and economic designation? What do we equate Black with poor? Well, why do we equate Black with poor? Well, I mean, when you look at the numbers, I mean, Blacks are definitely in the poor stratosphere. When we talk about money, just overall stratification of social economics, the average household income nationally is about $50,000. However, the national household income for Blacks is about $35,000 to $40,000 last time I looked. National unemployment is, I think, roughly now 6%. It's usually double that, right, for Black community. So I'm sorry, nationally it's about 6%. However, for the Black community, it's usually double, sometimes triple. Then we have to get into the whole thing of being underemployed. But that's a whole other conversation when we are talking about poverty. Then we can ultimately look at net worth. Now, these are studies. Now, some of my colleagues and contemporaries find issues with these studies. They don't think they're right, but we'll use them for right now. We'll take them as truth. And so some people feel that white families have roughly $144,000 of net worth on average. Your average black family has $11,000. And that range widens depending on what cities you go to. All right. All right. So Philly Amplify says we feed in the hustle of titles Europeans give us. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. Got the South and eat. Oh, yes. South is great. So South is a restaurant in Philadelphia, a black-owned restaurant in Philadelphia that I've eaten at several times, and I've had a great experience every time I was there. But speaking of South, there's other great black-owned dining experiences in Philadelphia. You got South. You got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which I haven't been to yet, but I believe that's in Rittenhouse Square, and I hear that's very, very good. You also have Booker's. Booker's is another one in Southwest Philly that I've been to several times. Actually had outings there. Great service, great food. There's more than just the white establishments for us to support, y'all. So, Tom Johnson, how are you? Apex Kicks, New York, how are you? Yo, DJ Clay, how are you? Welcome. All right, so that was the IG family checking in. Let me go to my YouTube and Facebook, folks. Don Johnson's in the building. How are you, Don? Welcome. Jose's here. Miss Edith's here. So Miss Edith says, good afternoon, Kamari. EYL will present their Market Monday segment, Monday in commemoration of the Black Wall Street Massacre. I wanted to attend, however, last minute notifications. Okay. Shout outs to EYL. Like and share. I appreciate you liking and sharing. All right. Michelle says, I'm in the parade now. Oh, that's dope. Money buys influence. So you know what? Real quick. Michelle, sounds like Michelle's in the parade in Tulsa. All right. So Michelle's in the parade in Tulsa. They're doing a big commemoration to the 100-year anniversary of Black Wall Street. Supposedly there are only 3 people left, 3 elders left from that. And I believe they're going to be part of massive celebrations throughout the city and throughout the area today. So shout out to Michelle. Lysandra, that's my tax sister right there, y'all. Money buys influence. We definitely have to have money. Yes. That's all I'm saying. I get so much pushback. Money isn't everything. Well, I know money isn't everything, but it is a crucial thing. It's an important thing, y'all. We can't lose that. Sometimes I think we're so busy trying to be right that we miss the overall context. Chili Davis, how are you? Already says preach. I appreciate that, Chili. All right, Eric Marsh is in the building. All right. Eric Marsh says, Kamari, look up Devil's Punch and Nachi, Mississippi, the largest concentration camp and mass grave of Black people in America. Right. I know there's another mass grave in, I believe, New York City and Central Park as well. So yeah, there's all kinds of atrocities that nobody meaning the government and the powers that be have even tried to right their wrong for. Never learned about any of these massacres in school. No, not at all. I'm not surprised. All right, Chili says, you can forget the past or history, or we will repeat ourselves. We've been minimalized. Facts. Again, I'm going to read that again, y'all, just so everybody's clear what Chili said. I didn't say it. Those aren't my words, but they are dope. Bars right there. You can forget the past or history, or we will repeat ourselves. We've been minimized, excuse me. All right, Eric Marsh also says, check out Amend the History of America on Netflix now. Okay, we'll do. All right, hi, Angela, how you doing? So Angela says, glad I called you today to get this history. I appreciate you. Thank you for checking in. Do me a favor, share this and like this out. If you all have not liked and subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do me a favor and subscribe and share this out. Likes matter, y'all. The ancestors are proud. Yeah, we all should be trying to make our ancestors proud. Ashe. All right. This historical data is amazing. Thank you. Yes, Cato, thank you, Eric. Nicole says, jealousy, envy is a powerful drug. Yes, it is. Octavius Cato. Again, look up Octavius Cato. They just recently put up a statue of Octavius Cato in the city of Philadelphia at City Hall. Definitely a hero. Definitely one of the ancestors we should be studying. Right? I am my ancestors. My ancestors are me. I live due to their sacrifices. Yes, and your ancestors, our ancestors, stand with us. We do not stand alone. Preach. Money is a tool. Yeah, it's definitely a tool. And with any tool, you can misuse the tool. That's what we see all the time. When we look at money through a Eurocentric lens, we are misusing money. Black folks, I'm speaking specifically about Black folks, about African descendants who are here in a particular situation. And we all know what that situation is, right? The loss of over 30 homes also impacted you. Yes. So, Eric, you know this person. I ain't saying no names, though. Right. So, to me, that right there, the loss of the 30 homes was glaring. Everybody who's not following along, Eric is from Philly as well. One of my brothers here in Philly. And we're talking about move. So, there was at least 30. I feel there was more than 30s, but there was at least 30 homes lost in the Southwest Philadelphia area of Philadelphia. So we call Southwest Philly. All right. But I mean, that to me right there, you can quantify that. You can feel that. You can touch that. You can see it. And when the fires are raging, you can smell it. And so I don't know how our brother didn't get that. And the first thing they moved to was just their issue with move. But, oh man, JT Coins. Thank you, sir. JT, I think you might have the longest run. You might be my top supporter. $4.99 in the super chat. Appreciate you. And I definitely will keep it coming. All the contributions that you guys give help to make it easier for me to bring more content. I have more plans to build out a new studio and to do some things. So it'll definitely help me pay for some of the stuff that I'm doing here to give you all a better experience. All right, so Ms. Edom says, Texas has a new law awaiting the governor signing approval for carrying your guns without licenses and certifications. Well, you know, I don't have a problem with gun rights. I have a problem with dumb gun rights. I think Black folks should be gun owners, trained gun owners. All right, I think self-defense is part of the overall wellness, right? When we talk about creating wealth, obtaining wealth, maintaining wealth, and then transferring wealth, we also have to think about the maintenance of our bodies. We've just seen this by going through the history, all the catastrophes that Black folks have experienced at the hands of racism, at the hands of white supremacy. It's not shocking. Many would say that tradition just basically passed on to police. Now, again, before everybody says all police aren't bad, no, they're not all bad. But as a system, right, we have to start being able to think and speak in terms of systems versus individuals. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about systems. And yes, individuals do run systems. Let's not be confused by that. But we're talking about systems. And as a system, policing is broke. Policing abused a lot of people, not just Black folks. Policing is abusing white folks too. It's abusing everybody. So with that said, we probably should revamp policing. I'm not going to sit here and say we don't need police because, you know, I have aunties and other elders in the community that oftentimes fall prey to some of the bad apples. And there's only a few bad apples. Let's be clear. It's only a few. Percentage wise, there's only a few bad actors and bad people who do bad things. Or people, I shouldn't say they're bad people. They're people who do bad things at times. But as we've all seen, some of the people that do bad things turn around and do good things too. So we can't ever just kind of shortchange our humanity and be like everybody else, because then what's the point? All right. And economic inclusion with the protection of the law. Yeah, but we have to fight for that. And I guess that's why you're saying what you're saying about politics. Yes, that's why it's important, because we pay our tax dollars. And oftentimes, systematically, we can go and look at the data. Black businesses don't get a fair shake. So our tax dollars are being used to help enrich other communities at a higher rate than our own. That's an issue. That's an issue. All right, Masita says also a man purchased a 40-acre compound to protect agitators. Their slogan is Greek Roman phrase, molten lava, take by force, defiant stance. Oh, that's interesting. I got to look that up. Mark Daniels, my brother out in Wichita. How are you, sir? With our current financial mentality, will reparations make us better? Or is it just that we're owed it? I would say, yeah. Again, this is an individualized thing though, right? Would people use it the right way? Probably not. But listen, if we can do trickle down economics to some of the other Black businesses who know how to do it, it would further solidify them. It would further put them in a better position to own it. Listen, y'all, I'm sad to say this, right? This is just the reality. There has always been haves and have-nots. There will always be haves and have-nots. That's human nature. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sexuality you are. If you go back and you look at history, there's always been haves and have-nots. And it wasn't always just because of somebody oppressing another. Sometimes they were just weaker or less prepared. So our job is not to be weaker, less educated, less prepared. You know, Killer Mike, I love Killer Mike. I know he's getting a little bit of pressure now for some of his stances, but he said something one time. He said, Black folks running around talking about separating, but many of us can't fish, can't shoot, can't fight, can't farm, and can't cook. So where would that actually leave us? Can we learn those things? Absolutely. But as it stands right now, if you're at a point of saying you want to create better, those are some things we actually need to attack. But going back to Mark's thing about reparations, again, I think reparations is definitely owed. There's no question about that, right? Hands down, we can quantify it and qualify it. Will it happen anytime soon? I don't think so. But it is owed. All right, Masita says, take your gun to town law. The Texas governor states he looks forward to signing it into law, allegedly. What are your thoughts on this? Well, I kind of expounded on it. I will say this. There's a lot of guns and a lot of dumb people. I don't know what other way to say it. When you have a lot of guns and a lot of dumb people, you have dumb shit happening, right? So sad to say, I'm not trying to put this in the air in the universe, but mass shootings. Matter of fact, I think there was just one the other day in California, right? I would expect potentially, right? I hope this doesn't happen, but potentially so I'll say this. I wouldn't be surprised if we had more mass shootings in Texas. And then, I'll be honest, when you give people more access to guns, they tend to export some of these weapons, like these ghost guns. They're getting these kits, they're putting these kits together, and then they're selling them. Anybody can now be a gun owner. What's that going to happen? What's likely to happen? Excuse me. So what now is likely to happen? The more gun. Thank you, Miss Edith. Miss Edith just sent me a cash app. Thank you, Miss Edith. What's more likely to happen now? What's more likely to happen now? You're going to see more people, lives lost, more wealth lost on all sides. So I don't know why Texas would do that. I know I have a couple friends in Texas. They're like, this is bananas. So they want to be out. Leo Lady, how are you? 9 Light Year, how are you? Short Term, how are you? Nika Stroman, how are you? Welcome. For everybody who's just joining, this is the Finance Rebel Show. Today's segment is our wealthy conversation. Every Saturday at noon-ish, we talk about things that are a concern to Black wealth, and we have a conversation about them. All right, so remember that. Do me a favor. Share this out, y'all. I'm fighting the algorithms, so like this, share this, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everybody can go on over to youtube.com/Finance Kamari Ellis, and subscribe. And guess what? It's free. It's free. But the more subscribes I get, the more likes I get, the more the algorithms will show this to people who this could potentially help. All right, so let's get back to these comments. Give me 1 second. The comments jumped on me. Here we go. Jose's in the building. All right. For some, it will make them better. For others, it will make them better consumers. Facts. Facts. That's why one of the tenets of being like, if we really want to get at this black thing, right, and this black wealth thing, you also have to be, let me back up. You also have to be a conscious consumer. What does that mean? Well, you need to know that the people you are spending your money with by buying their products are also good companies, good citizens, good community members, good neighbors. Do they spend their money funding right-wing Trumpite BS? Then you might want to wonder if you want to fund their revolution, because by funding their revolution, you are sending dollars to hurt your growth, to hurt your livelihoods. For the record, I don't care about black Republicans or black Democrats. Or let me say this again. I don't care about Democrats or Republicans. They're of the same coin, right? They're the same thing on the same coin, or they're on two different sides of the same coin. However, then you got this whole other thing going on with this super duper ultra right wing stuff that's going on that I feel is hurtful to everyone. Everyone. Mr. Sims, how are you, sir? Ryan Sims, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right, Ms. Edith says, Black Fortunes, I will purchase this book. Yes, you will love that book. Black Fortunes is about the first 6 black people from slavery to become millionaires. Now, I think there was more than that, and the story kind of goes off and talks about some other people as well. A lot of that book is around Philadelphia. Part of the reason why I love it. They talk about a company, a bus company in Darby, PA, which is right outside of Philadelphia, owned by a black family. And this black family used that money that they made to buy stock in the stock market, but they had to use a white proxy, a white man as a proxy to buy it. A lot of that stuff went on. All right, John Johnson's book, John Johnson being the founder of Ebony and Jet, Johnson Publications, in his autobiography, he talks about using a white proxy to buy a building in Chicago, in the downtown section of Chicago. So there's a lot of jewels around, folks. There's a lot of jewels around, folks. All right, Short Term says, hey, enjoying this convo. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. All right. Miss Kim. Now, if anybody didn't see the interview I did with Miss Kim, please go back and look at that interview or watch or listen to that interview. I need to see what number that was. But it was a great story. She shared how her and her husband are building a real estate empire. And Miss Kim has now become a landlord strategist because she has not had any evictions over her 30-year plus career in real estate investing. So that's pretty impressive, y'all. I know many of y'all know I used to be a property manager. I cannot tout that I am evictionless. I have quite a few evictions under my belt. Sadly. So let me see. Let's see if I can find it. It's episode 134. Episode 133 and 134. So you all can go on over and check that out. All right. So Miss Edith said South, black-owned restaurant. Yes, it's definitely a black-owned restaurant. And they have other black-owned restaurants. Forgot to mention Warm Daddies. That company also owns Warm Daddies as well. Another soul food establishment with a long history here in the city. So Emacito says, Michelle, please put your social media tag so I can follow you. Are you live videotaping? Okay, so you want to know about the parade? Yes, please put that in the comment section. Thank you, Miss Edith's on Miss Edith's on IG too. Thank you, Miss Edith. B Days, how are you? All right, so Eric said 35 homes destroyed. Okay. And Eric, I feel like there were homes on the back street or the neighboring street that were also destroyed as well. Jackie Mayfield, how you doing? Welcome. But again, yeah, it's a lot. 35 homes is a lot. Just think about how many generations of people and just the number in that generation and the generations that came after that affect. We got to get away from thinking one to one. We got to understand that all our interactions are exponential. So, me and Eric have done business together. Eric has helped me. I've helped Eric. And some of the stuff that Eric has helped me with, I've been able to help people. But it wasn't just a one-off interaction from that. It was 2 or 3. And the same things with Eric. Some of the interactions and relationships I've introduced Eric to have helped him get to other things as well. So again, it was not 1-to-1. It's 1-to-2, it's 1-to-3, it's 1-to-4. It's not addition. It's multiplication, if not exponential multiplication. All right, so I see there is a question here over. Hold on, let me try to get that. Let me try to. All right, so short term says, do you have any suggestions why young people ages 18 to 24 don't want to get jobs? I would say most 18 to 24-year-olds don't want to get jobs. But let me back up a little because I'm just playing around. There's a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds that want to get jobs. They want to work. Many of them right now are still scared about what's going on with Corona. Like, I don't think we should take that lightly or dismiss that and just kind of label them all in as lazy bums, as some of our parents like to do. I was talking to some friends of mine last Friday. Matter of fact, they talked about how their children are in college, but they're staying home, and they gave them an extra year before they made them move out because they needed some grace before, with COVID. They needed some time. But now, they said they're getting back to work and they want to do some things. They got unemployment. So that's it. But I don't believe like, so there's this adage that people don't want to get to work because they're getting unemployment. That might affect a small percentage of people. Most people don't want a free ride. Most people want to pay their own way. Now, do some people struggle with that? Absolutely. But I don't think most people want to go in and whip out their money, whip out their credit card or their wallet and pay for their own stuff. I think sometimes the narratives that the media creates, especially the narratives that media creates around Black folks, I don't even think y'all realize just how divisive mass media is and their narratives and how they've created these narratives around Black folks and how sneaky they are. That's the word I'm looking for, sneaky they are. People don't even realize that it kind of gets filtered in. And then it becomes a part of our psyche and part of our thinking. But I don't know that young people necessarily have a problem wanting to work. I think people want work. Are there some, again, who bloom and blossom later on and want to stand on their own? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I guess my question would be are those 18 and 24-year-olds really, really living life so they can really begin to self-actualize? I mean, we got all our lives to work. We got all our lives to work. But the question is, are we working in our purpose? Are we doing our divine gifts and talents, right? Are we really tapping into that? We can tap into some work, right? As we talk about Black Massacres and Black wealth, in some way, shape, or form, they always were around our work, right? And the value that we bring. But a lot of times they weren't necessarily around our God-given gifts, abilities, and talents. I say, my opinion, Kamari's opinion, the rebel way of thinking, forget about work, air quotes. Tap into your God-given gifts, abilities, and talents, and then that'll be your work. But we don't push that. Oftentimes we want to push people to move out, right? We want to push them to move out, get their own place, and pay somebody else to get rich, right? Go rent somebody else's apartment because you want to move out of mama's or your daddy's house. Go somewhere else and rent, where they're not even ready for it yet. They're not mature enough for it yet. And yes, I'm wholeheartedly understanding. Yes, sometimes you got to put people out, the proverbial out, for them to man up, woman up, and step up to be an adult. I get that too. But I think there's also, I'll share what a mentor of mine told me years ago. He said one of the greatest atrocities that Black people do is that we put our children out. We tell them that they had to leave at 18, and we give them this sense of homelessness, right? We perpetuate this sense of homelessness while the whole community has that same sense of homelessness because we were robbed and brought and kidnapped and brought to this country and enslaved. So, some of the micro things we don't really think about, but they definitely have impact on a macro level. So, like I said, I could nerd out with y'all. Y'all don't want to hear all that. I'm not trying to go too deep. Many Irish immigrants were pitted against Blacks by wealthy whites. Yes, they were. Starting as slave overseers when it eventually led into policing. Yes, policing definitely came out of overseeing, out of slavery. This is why Irish American immigrants have a family history in policing. Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And all this is context, right? Again, we're not making excuses for mistreatment of Black folks, but all that stuff impacts. All that stuff matters. All right. Miss Edith says, I agree. Not to be less prepared. Yes. All right. Killer Mike, you are unprepared. Can you fish, grow your own vegetables? Yes. So you saw that too, right? Are you ready? Yep. Okay. You're welcome. You someone to me. I'm so grateful. Okay. I appreciate you, Miss Edith. Thank you for the Cash App gift. Young Strong MG. I won't say your name right. What's up, Remy? What is that? I learned quick. Me, J3, so cute. I think you might have got an autocorrect there. Miss Edith says, all right, Miss Edith, I'm not going to repeat that. I'm not going to put you on blast because I don't want people to know. We can't put everything on social media, y'all. All right. Eric says people want jobs that provide money and a sense of dignity in the future. Yes. I will say this, though. What's up, Malik? How you doing? I will say this, Eric. I do believe, and this is just my observation. This is anecdotal. This is just me. I do believe in this era of social media, the speed of things has moved so fast. So everybody wants instant gratification. Everybody wants to push the microwave and have instant results. Guess what? Us Gen Xers and baby boomers are not exempt from that either. So it's from the young to the old. We all want instant gratification. But ultimately, what we don't realize is the true wealth, the true fortune, the true diamonds come from digging, right? There's a great book called Acres of Diamonds, basically talking about the acres of diamonds in your backyard. That there's jewels and fortunes to be had in your own backyard, but you have to do the work to dig. And when I say dig, I'm talking about doing the self-work to figure out what you're good at. Again, what your God-given gifts and abilities are. Nobody's really talking about that. Everybody's saying, let's just get to this money. Let's leverage our credit. Let's do this and that. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. It's the context in which many people, not all, many people present it, right? We got folks talking about here, let's get the credit, but folks ain't got a job, nor a business, nor a sense of cash flow, right? So yeah, it's great. You can get credit. You might be able to get to some things that you shouldn't get to. Oftentimes credit by buying loans and things like that. They want to see your income. But what is that telling us? Get to the credit before we have the money, before we're able to responsibly, again, it's for some folks, responsibly deal with those obligations. That's a recipe for destruction. That's why there's $14 trillion of consumer debt, credit card debt out here. And people are just getting eaten alive by the interest. So now you become a slave to credit card companies. But nobody's talking about that. So when I sit here and kind of joke with y'all and say, well, nobody wants to talk about that because it's not sexy, I talk about a lot of the basics. Because again, the basics make superstars. If you can never grasp, master the basics, you'll never be a superstar. You might get lucky. You might get lucky a couple of times, but you won't be able to do anything consistently. So, all right, so am I preaching? All right, let me get out my soapbox. I ain't trying to be on my soapbox. I ain't got on my my pastor's robe. So he said, yes. Are we in our purpose? More important than works? Yeah, it's definitely more important than works. But again, that's not fancy, because sometimes when you are working on your purpose, you will fall flat on your face, and that doesn't look sexy. It doesn't look good, right? Oftentimes, nobody wants to show that. I'm a big fan of C.T. Fletcher. Big fan. If y'all don't know who C.T. Fletcher is, he's a workout trainer, been around for several years, and he has some heart issues. Now, what CT did, though, he had heart surgery. One of the first things he did, he wanted to start getting back in shape. Now, I don't recommend this, but what he did was, he said, I got to get back. He started running sprints. And in him running sprints, the man literally fell on his face and got a black eye. Now, I don't believe CT to be a type guy to just do things for the gram, even though he has a phenomenal social media presence. However, if you look at his works, everything that's behind him, people that are behind him, his championship records, the people he's worked with, it shows he's just about that work. And social media is just showing the work, the real work, not the manufactured glitz and glamour that we often see. So him running, being caught on camera, is just a result of his work. But how many people are really willing to do the work, right, and fall on their face and get back up and try again, dust themselves off and try again? He was. That's why he's had a lot of the success he's had. That's why he has the reputation that he has. And it wasn't built overnight. It wasn't built at a snap of the fingers. Now, again, not to take away from the tools and strategies of the current year. Can't get away from those. However, if you apply some work with the tools of today, you can be out of this world. And yeah, that's the real work. That's the real jewel. That's the real play. We don't want to talk about that, though. All right, Malik says, anyone looking for a firearm, check out Philly Firearms. Firearms spelled Phirearmes. Philly _Phirearms. They are a Black-owned and operated gun store. They can get you what you need to protect yourself and your family. All right, thank you for that, sir. All right. All right, so Ms. Kim says, I feel blessed to be running a race in Tulsa, Oklahoma in November. All right. Me and hubby my hubby will be joining me. We feel blessed to be on ground zero, feeling the spirit of ancestors and revisiting history in living color. That's dope. That's dope. Now, one of the things that people don't realize about Tulsa is after the riots, after the massacre, that folks built it back up. Then integration happened, or desegregation, because we never actually had integration. Desegregation happened. And they also wound up building a highway through a large part of the area as well. So that's, some would say it's progress, but I would say it's sad in that regard, because that area should have been memorialized. All right, yes, I was talking about Digging this morning. Okay, Chili, we on the same vibe. By the way, Chili, good to see you. You ain't been around for a minute. Too many IG stars and no work for process. No work or process. Yep. Okay, Miss Elaine just sent me $5. I appreciate you, Miss Elaine. So yes, yes, it's important to do the digging. It's important to do the work, and do it regardless of how much money you make, because it's not about the money you make. Miss Elaine just sent me $5. Miss Edith just sent me $50. But I'm here every week, several times a week. I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for the money. I would do this if nobody was here, or if a million people were here. It would be the same talk. It would be the same vibe. It would be the same Kamari. So, International Hove, quick abstract. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? All right, y'all. So listen, I don't want to be on my soapbox too long, but listen, history is important. Money's important, used with a cultural filter, right? Make sure that y'all stay in y'all purpose. Y'all do your own digging for your own diamonds. Shine those diamonds up, and then move forward and let y'all light shine. So that's all I got for y'all today. Everybody have a great day. Again, thank you for being here. I'm always humbled by everyone being here, and I appreciate you all so much. We'll be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. with Wealthy Wednesdays. Let me know what y'all want to talk about, because it seems like y'all just want to hear me talk. Y'all don't want to ask no questions no more. I do get some questions from time to time on the text, but let me know what y'all want to talk about. Throw it in the chat. But everybody, y'all be blessed. Y'all be great. And I'll see y'all later. Have a great Sunday. Have a great weekend, and enjoy yourselves. Bye-bye.